So we are moving on to the assessing the credibility of sources that we use for our research for National History Day. And when we say assessing the credibility of a source, what we're really saying is a source trustworthy? Is a website, can we believe what we just read? Is a journal article accurate? Is the person that wrote that, do they have any sort of authority to write about that subject? And so we're going to use a tool to assess credibility from different sources. And this tool looks at 5 different aspects. They look at a source's currency, how recently was it published, its relevancy to your topic, its accuracy, the writer or publisher's authority, and the purpose. Everybody writes something or publishes something for a reason. So what's the purpose? And since these are all kind of big words and these are can be easy to forget, we're going to make sure that we remember them, because this is actually called the CRAAP Test. And this is how we figure out if the sources that we use are crap. So we're going to talk through each of these aspects, but before we do that, if you need to pause the video, you can go ahead and glue this sheet of paper into your analog notebook, hamburger style, and write the CRAAP test, or hot dog style, we'll get that right, and write the CRAAP test along the top. So the first aspect we're looking at is currency. And really what we're concerned with is how recently was this published. And we want new. We want things that are published recently, because that means that they have the most recent information that's informing the things that they talk about. And so when we say this, I always think of like New Year's, like this is 2015, recent, boom, that's awesome. If you find an article that was written this year, that's great, use that. And we really want to make sure that we pay attention to this. This can be hard to find sometimes on documents, and so I just printed off this is a website on Howlin' Wolf. This is an old blues singer from the early 20th century. And I wanted to take a look at this to see if we could find a date, because there's sometimes we may just find a date and think, oh sweet, this is awesome. And up here you see 9/11/2015. If we're looking for currency, we could be like, sweet, 9/11/2015, that's today, they just published that. And then we may move on. But then we could find another website. This is from biography.com. You guys may recognize the end of this article. And this is a completely different article that I got on today. And I got to the end. I'm looking for a day, oh, sweet, September 11th, 2015. Oh, published today. But it's because that date is actually the access date. That means the day that I pulled it off the internet. That is not a date that it was published. And actually on this article, I couldn't even find a date. On this one, you'd have to go to the very bottom of the website, and for us, it'd be the very last page, and you would find copyright 2013, the Howlin' Wolf Foundation. So that's only 2 years old. That's not too bad. That's not too bad. This is a pretty recent website. And then another spot to look on here, all these would be good to check out, but this one's really good too. Are the links functional? Are they taking you where they say they're going to take you? And this just shows that the website is being updated. Someone's paying attention to it. Someone may be editing it. So I'm going to draw out a 404 not found thing. If you find that links are leading you to 404s all the time, it is not current. The next section is relevancy. Relevancy, it asks, does this source hit your target? And your target, especially in National History Day, is your research question. That means this source needs to address the questions that you are looking for answers to. So I'm going to draw this out here just because I'm visual. I'm going to draw a big target, and at the center of that is your research question. That means if I'm doing a report on Andrew Jackson and his policies towards the Indian removal. Let's say, how did Andrew Jackson's policies affect Indian removal in the United States? Well, if I find a great, cool article about Andrew Jackson, the Battle of New Orleans and the War of 1812, that may be an awesome article, but it may not hit the target at all, because I want to make sure that it's answering some part of that question for me. does this source hit your target? And you need to ask that. Your research question is at the center, and you want these articles to hit in there. Even if it's a portion of it, you want your sources to fit there. And the next thing to ask with relevancy that we're going to address right here, have you looked at a variety of sources? You have to look at more than one. Don't just find the first source off Google and say, sweet, all right, I'm good, I got one. Because we need to check our information against other ones. We want to make sure that we're not just picking the first, but we're picking the best pieces of information, the best sources. Is the information at an appropriate level? This just means don't use like a 4th grade reading level website. You know, like we're better than that. Find something that's at your level. Accuracy is number 3. Accuracy is probably the most important one. You want to make sure that the information that you're reading, that you're using, is true, because if it's not, you're going to look stupid. And so there are a few ways to make sure that what we're reading is accurate. The first one is it supported by evidence? Hey, we know that that's important, but that means that we need to be watching whenever we're reading something and claims are made, that they are backing it up with something. You could also watch to see if your source uses other sources. Is there a bibliography at the end? Because that probably means that it's pulled from a lot of different places, and there's a lot of wisdom all coming into that one source that you're using. Are there spelling or grammatical errors? Hey, if there are, that tells us a couple things. One, that the person that threw that website up there didn't care enough to fix those, which means they're probably not paying attention enough. It also means that if there's, they don't have an editor, they don't have anyone else checking their thoughts. And so that would be a big black mark if there were spelling and grammatical errors. And there's one that we're not going to have a ton of time to talk about, but does the language seem unbiased and free of emotion? You want your sources to read basically like a textbook. You know, you want them to read like very objective and not putting their own opinions in there. And so I'm going to write that out. Read like a textbook. May not be the most exciting thing, but it means that their opinion is not interjected. And then the last thing is, can you verify the information from another source? So I'm going to draw this, because you're going to see that down here it's asking for another source again. Use all the sources you have to check against each other. And some of you saw that in our exercise earlier in the year, where you would find sources that may disagree. And then you may need to find another source to see if you can really get to the truth of the matter. Authority, who is the author or publisher? And are the authors or credentials listed? Are authors' credentials listed? What are the author's qualifications to write on the topic? Does the URL reveal anything about the source? So this is all dealing with the author. You want to find people that have authority. Do they have degrees? That would be a credential. If they graduated from Harvard with a doctorate in history of American studies, well, that's credentials. Did they write a book on something that was published? Then those are credentials. Those would also be qualifications to write on a topic. These would be things that that you would want to look for. You don't just want to be reading a blog post from anybody about something and using it as a fact. So you're looking for something like this. This may mean that you'll have to do some digging whenever you get to a source. This is going back to this Jimmy Rogers article that we kind of talked about a little bit ago. If you look for authors, well, biography.com editors is the author. Well, that could be good or that could be bad. That probably isn't the best, but it means at least biography.com trusts them enough to employ them, and so that would be something. And the last one is purpose. And purpose is, there's always a purpose for everything that people write. And so using our Howling Wolf article, this would be a question of how the purpose for this, and we'll jump right here. They've got a mission to advance the legacy of Chester Arthur Burnett, known worldwide as Howlin' Wolf. So they want to advance the legacy of Howlin' Wolf. That means that these people are probably not biased. They may even puff up Howlin' Wolf a little bit. I know it's kind of crazy to talk about a blues singer, but to make him sound awesome, because they want to advance his legacy. Does the point of view appear objective or impartial? That comes back to this: unbiased and free of emotion. Is the information fact, opinion, or propaganda? Really what you're asking here is, where does it come from and why? This is going to matter a whole lot in who wrote your source. So whenever you do the CRAAP test, I want you to take a look at these things and really assess each source that you use by asking some of these questions. And if you find that it really misses the mark on 2 or 3 of these major sections, then it's probably not a worthwhile source and you need to move on. So if you do have any questions, talk to Mr. Liu or I. We'll be around. But use this and refer to this a lot.